Welcome to a Tulip in an Onion Patch. We are your three hosts. I am Jeyson Jones, and I'll let the other two hosts introduce themselves.
My name is Brendan Jones.
And I am Mama Jones, Kymberly Clemons-Jones.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, I'm sure you're wondering about our very interesting title name for our podcast. And I would love my mom, who came up with the name, to definitely introduce exactly what the concept of the meeting is.
So the title of our podcast is A Tulip in an Onion Patch. And really, I didn't come up with the name at all. It was my sister, Michelle Clemons, who was talking to me one day, and she said, "You're like a tulip in an onion patch." The fact that I was the only woman in the house at the time with a bunch of boys. And so for me, it gives the imagery of this beautiful red tulip surrounded by all these onions, peeling onions, smelly onions, the wafting scent of onions, and this one tulip trying to survive in the middle of an onion patch. So that is the name. A Tulip in the Onion Patch, conversations between mother and sons.
Yes. I will, start us off. We are going to speak today about our very interesting event that happened about 2 weeks ago. Me having two random seizures and having brain surgery. So what we would like to do today is talk about a concept of faith and hope that we have been having throughout this process of me going through this very traumatic event from not only myself but my family. And throughout the day, throughout this podcast, you will hear from not only us three, but you'll hear from the rest of the family members in the house. Little brief clips of just the overall experience of that, speaking about what happened that day and how they felt. So to start us off, we would love to just give you like the rundown of the entire day. First starting with this traumatic event being on Father's Day. So we would love to speak to you first about how the day started on such a high and ended on such a low, but then throughout the entire process and getting myself back healthy again and being back home has got us back on a high and gotten us to a point where hope and faith has brought us through and gotten us to a really, really great place, and even closer as a family. Our bond and foundation has continued to progress. So you guys can willingly jump in whenever. I'll just start with Father's Day. We were celebrating our father.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
We were starting an amazing Father's Day with our father and my mother, obviously husband. And I'll start with me personally with Philip Jones, who you will hear from later. I'll start off with just what he means to me particularly. Many of you may or may not know, that is not my biological father, but he did raise me since I was 2 years old, so you cannot tell me that's not my father. But the reason why I have such a profound respect for him, and it gets me emotional anytime I talk about it, is because I feel like one of the truest signs of a man that you can do is raise a child that is not yours. And I think it's so beautiful that he took it upon himself to raise me, knowing that he did not physically make me or biologically make me, but he took it upon himself to raise me. And one thing he always used to tell me was, which is so funny to me and great to always hear, is like, I loved you before I loved your mom.
That's right. And
it's such a beautiful thing to hear. So we were obviously starting that day in such a great manner. My brothers cooked breakfast for my father. We had mimosas, orange juice, and champagne. We had mimosas. Everybody was having such a great day.
Yeah.
And then our conversation really transpired and transitioned into a great moment of all of us connecting and us really speaking about how powerful we each are, and speaking about how particularly my sister had, we had this great vision for what she can do because of how talented she is. So I would love for you guys to just jump in on that.
We, as a family, we all in our own respect have what I like to call an intense connection to ourselves and each other, and I say this, whatever spirit realm you guys believe in, but we have an intense connection to that, God and the universe and all of that. And the way we manifest it individually, we sat down at the table, and through Jeyson having his conversation with Katrina, our sister, we each actually had a second to look into ourselves and look into each other as a whole. And even recently, I just had the thought to myself, like, yo, this is kind of crazy. Like, we've always been a family. We always knew how strong we were. But at this point, after that moment, it's kind of became, it's like whatever prayers are made, it's made as a unit, not just for ourselves individually. And I feel like now we came to a point where we can believe in each other and feel like we can do anything together.
Amen.
Amen.
You know, and that's something that I'm honestly starting to hold dear to my heart, because that's really cool, honestly.
Absolutely. Anything you want to add on?
Yeah. So we were having a really festive time talking with each other, and Jeyson came to us in a very prophetic way. And it was strange that the day ended up with you having a couple of seizures, because you came in like gangbusters, prophesying to your sister about her journey, and then all of us kind of seeing our journeys, as Brendan said, throughout that conversation. And so it was just a powerful moment. The rest of the day was beautiful. We had the crab boils. Just a lot of fun with family and friends, we were socially distancing as much as we could, but there's 9 of us in the house, so
absolutely.
We're always around each other, so but it was just a beautiful day of honoring your dad and the great man that he is.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Mom said, we had seafood boil. We love seafood here in this household. We love food in period, honestly. And so imagine like painting a picture of how high we were as a family, and how festive we were as a family, and just how as much we were enjoying each other's company. And then from that transitioning into me having a seizure at the end of the night, right? So the way that happened, so God was behind all this in a very just in general, just was behind this, because how the seizures occurred and where everybody was placed at the specific time when it happened, where our family members were there to support me immediately, was not normal for our household. And it's very interesting, because I had a particular friend over at the time, and I wasn't alone, which I normally am most of the time. I wasn't alone. So as I wasn't feeling good, as I was speaking to my friend, and I wasn't feeling good, she was speaking to me, and in my head, literally, what's going off in my head was just like music. And it was just very interesting that as I'm speaking to her and we're having a conversation, I'm speaking to her, and like just music is going off in my head, and I couldn't concentrate. And anyone that knows me, I'm a very active listener. Anytime somebody speaks, I'm always very engaged in the conversation, because like me and the rest of my family, we are big on helping people. We are big on the betterment of society to the highest degree, and doing the Lord's work.
Yeah,
so
my focus factor only comes in bursts.
yes. Me and my brother are a little bit different when it comes to it, but at the end of the day, the foundation of just doing the Lord's work is something that's always consistent. So
you're talking about the music. The music was something from way back in the day.
Yeah, I was hearing music that I haven't heard in like years. Like it was like, I can't even tell you the song, because during the seizures, like part of that day is like I'm still regaining the events that happened that day. Yeah, I'm still gaining it back. Similar to when I was jumped when high school, my jaw was broken. It took me a while to gain back what happened.
I'm talking about the music.
Yeah, the music.
I thought you were just hearing music, but there was something you've heard before.
Yeah,
that you haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't heard. Probably in like the last 6 months, 7 months, I haven't heard this song. I haven't played it actively. So it was very interesting, and I'm just like, I'm like, there's something's clearly wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it, nor could I even tell what was going on. Like, this is something that never happened to me. As for many of you that do know or do not know, I'm a former Division I athlete. I'm healthy as can be. I'm still actively working out. I am a certified personal trainer as well. So health and wellness is very important to me. And obviously, as I've came home from track and adjusted to working and sitting down and not being active, I had to learn how to eat better and work out. So me having 2 seizures is uncommon. I've never had any significant surgery outside of my jaw surgery that happened when I got jumped in 2011. Never had any really major surgeries or injuries per se in my entire life. So this is very rare that even happened. So you'll hear from my father later about the exact event, but I'll tell you what he told me, and he'll come in with more just background of what happened. So what he told me was, I came in the kitchen and he asked me a question to get him something out the truck. And as I tried to transition to go out my back door to go to his car, it seemed from what he described, it seemed like all of my motor skills shut down. And to give you even more background before that, my brother asked me to drop him to the train, and I was folding clothes that I just did laundry. I was folding clothes and I was taking too long for him, and he got frustrated and left. And it was like God, and this is why that's why I said this is why God was working before him, because in that space, if I would take too long, I immediately would have done that. Lord knows where we would have been right now. Our lives could have been taken. I could have been hurt. Lord knows what could have happened. So it was a blessing that I decided to not even take my sweet time, because it wasn't purposely. I was just literally folding my clothes because I wanted to get my clothes folded and keep my room organized. Something that you preach to me all the time. Your room is
your brain.
Your room is your brain.
I heard that from mom.
From mom, right. Something that mom's been preaching us for years. So it was great. So, so back to where we were. All my motor skills shut down, and Dad's told me that I squatted and bent over. My face was contorted. I was just not even speaking English, and then I just fell back. So later you'll hear from the exact events of from my father, exactly what happened.
So Katrina and I was sitting here around 11 o'clock Sunday night, Father's Day night, telling me what a wonderful father I am, and that she would never have ever see herself with a dad like myself.
I don't remember that conversation.
But anyway, I won't go into that because she'll probably start crying. It's okay.
So I was asking my father about the car, and we was trying to figure out if Brendan took the car or not. And at that moment, Jeyson had came from his room, and he walked towards the bathroom and came back, and my father asked him, "Oh wait, go outside and see if the car is outside." So my father has a habit of mumbling, and no one can understand what he's saying half the time. So when Jeyson came back, all of a sudden I heard Jeyson say blah, 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 blah. And I looked and I started laughing because I thought he was literally mimicking Daddy. But you actually saw Jeyson.
Yeah, so I thought he was mimicking me also. So I looked at him and said, "What the heck's wrong with you?" Mm-hmm. And so I said, "Jeyson." And all I know, Jeyson did one of these moves. He was walking towards his bedroom, and he turned slowly at me and started mumbling. Then as he did that, all I see, his mouth just twisted and his face contorted. And then he was kneeling down and he just fell back into the hallway. And all I know, Trina said, "Dad, you took 2 steps and you were there." And from there, I was in daddy mode, trying to see, make sure Jeyson was fine. Jeyson convulsions, it was foaming at the mouth.
Person at this moment, because I was running around here like I didn't know what to do or how to do it, or I was just hysterically crying, and Daddy just sprung into action without even thinking twice about it.
Trying my best to, keep his head from hitting the floor, trying to roll him over to the side a little bit because he was foaming at the mouth, and didn't want him to, to pretty much choke on his own saliva. And my wife said I kept on rubbing his neck, And I don't know how hard I was rubbing. She said, you're going to strangle him from the rear. Just stop rubbing so hard.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to just talking to him, trying to make sure he was coherent, and just want to feel some sensitivity that he knew that we were here with him. I automatically went to my mode because my middle sister, Valerie, all my life she grew up with having seizures. So I just remember my father working with Valerie on a regular basis, and all this activity going around me, but I was just focusing on Jeyson. And I heard Mom come down, and she started praying, started speaking in tongues. And it's ironic, it's 11 o'clock at night. Trina's usually in the bed. Mm-hmm. I'm upstairs. Jeyson is in space.
Usually
Brennan is wherever. Cam's in his space. Mm-hmm. Manny's in his space. And so we're nowhere around. But this night, everybody was up. Brendan happened to go to get his Long Island Railroad pass. And Jay was going to take him so he could show him how to get it. Then Brendan said, never mind, I'll go. And right when this happened on the floor, Brendan comes in the house. I see Brendan comes in. And automatically I said, whoa, Jay could have been behind the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. And we could have a major issue. Exactly.
There was about 5 of us calling 911 at the same time, and no one could get through. It just kept saying,
Well, no one was able to get through it all. And then one of Jay's friends was here, and they were able to get through. No problem at all. And I remember that the cops came within minutes.
Seconds.
It seemed like.
Literally seconds. But I have to say the cops were amazing. One of them saw that I was hysterical, and he just calmed me down. I'm trying to find Jeyson's ID. He's asking for ID. I'm going through his room, but I'm crying hysterical, and I'm just everywhere. And he just had me take 2 breaths, and I was able to find his ID. And then I saw my baby on the floor, and Jeyson was my son before I had any sons. And it just, my heart, everything just fell out of me at that moment. But
call her the sister mom.
I try to be, but I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And Daddy and Mom was praying over him, and all I could do is just get on the floor and just hold him, hoping that maybe if he just heard my voice, if he just felt my presence near him, that he would just, sounds crazy, just wake up. But I just wanted him to know that I was there.
And for me, I had flashbacks of when he got mugged by the 5 guys, in 2011 when that happened. And so, and that's all I can remember. And just remember Jeyson having a concussion and running home and eventually not remembering what happened. And I asked Jeyson, do you remember anything? He's like, what? Just looking around like, no. And that's why my mind just went there totally. And
but that's when Jeyson got up, oh my God, the look in his face, it was just like a blank. It was just like in a blank space. Like he didn't know where he was, who we were, why everybody was crowded around him, why the police was there. He was just like, I have no clue what happened. And that scared the life out of me, because I really thought I don't want to talk about what I thought, but thank God he got up. That's
for sure. See, all of my kids, they like to do it well.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. Jeyson got mugged in the hospital, had 2 titanium plates put in. Now this here. My daughter, it's not her fault. She was in the car and again got hit head on by a car. Thank God she's in the Volvo, because if it was another car, no telling where she would have been. When she was younger, she had to get 2 pins, put pins in both her hips when she was younger. That was tormenting, especially with her biting my finger every time when she was in pain.
Eddie seems to always be in the midst of.
And then Brendan
kids are going through chaos.
fell asleep driving and flipped the car when he hit a pole, and they don't know how he got out, sitting on the curb. So, but like I said, our family's blessed,
Truly.
and know for a fact that God is in the midst, and that
All the time.
there is something special for Jeyson, for Katrina, for Brendan, for my wife, their mother. We just know that God is in control. So something with this Jones family, don't know what it is, but we're a praying family. We believe that everything happens for a reason. My mantra is, you only have control over what you have control over.
That's his,
And that's
by the
it.
way, not the family's.
I said mine.
Okay.
I said mine, but I hear you all say it once in a while when you talk to your friends. So, and always know that you do unto others as you haven't do unto yourself. So for us, it's all about giving back. And I know Jeyson had the vision of the podcast, spoke to Mom about it, and she's just gifted whatever she touches. And to have a beautiful Tulip, Kymberly Clemons-Jones, and her two stinky sons, the onion patch, and her amongst them, she has a way of bringing things out. Then you got baby Tulip right here. My baby girl.
Why are you petting my
Because
hair?
I love you dearly. So that's what happened with us with Jeyson, and we thank God, and we believe in miracles. And literally 7 days later, our middle child came walking out of the hospital. A new man, new attitude, new haircut, new everything. And we just know that's nothing but God. That, well, actually 7 days from coming out, but literally 3 days from having brain surgery on a Wednesday, and here comes Saturday, Jeyson is home. So we just give God the praise, and we thank him for everything that he's done through this family, helped us, and we just cannot wait to see what God is going to do for Jeyson and for this family.
Because he's definitely going to be powerful.
Most definitely.
Definitely going to be powerful, so I agree.
Amen. Thank you.
From my perspective, and I'll switch it over to these two, Mom and my brother, of just once I got my consciousness back and I understood, and I finally gained my consciousness back and I finally, felt healthy enough, my mindset was so positive from literally me getting in the ambulance all the way to me getting home, and even now. A lot of people didn't even understand it. Me speaking to my sister, she thought it was fake confidence. She thought I was just, saying this because, obviously it's a very traumatic experience with my family, and I'm trying to make sure everybody else stays positive. But it's just beauty, as and I'll allude to later as I continue doing the process, as we continue speaking about the process and me being in the hospital. It was just a sense of faith and just hope that I had already as soon as I got back conscious. I was back to joking very early, and which probably frustrated my mother because I didn't take anything too serious. And I really thought I was okay. I thought I was going to get it out of the hospital and be fine. Yeah. I thought this was just one of those rare occurrences that sometimes God puts you through to give you a wake-up call, give the people around you a wake-up call. And I've realized just in this particular point, what I'll address later, just how many people, when I have given them the news, how many people were affected by it. And how many people, it really gave a lot of people a wake-up call. And a lot of testimonials for myself and text messages that I received were just like, wow, like, Jay, we would never expect this to happen to you because of how serious you are with your health, how much you really align with your eating habits, things of that nature. So it was just a really like freak of nature event type of thing. So I would love to just pass it over to you guys, just to give you guys how you felt, what you saw, and how that particular moment of me being unconscious, having 2 seizures back to back for 5-10 minutes at a time, and just how you guys felt about that. Would love to hear that perspective and just inform the audience about that.
Well, I mean, look, we sat there all day together. We all had an amazing day. We were spending time as a family in the living room, in the dining room, in the kitchen, around the house, and you know how it usually is. We go to our own vices. We do what we do, and just for that to cap the night off was kind of just like a humbling moment, if so to speak. It's just like we talked about all the power that we did have during the day. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like, this is all the power you don't have. This is something you don't have control over. What do you do with the power that you do have. And that's kind of what it ended up being for me throughout the whole process for you. I guess like, you know, like I was gone when it originally happened, when Dad went to catch you, but I was walking into the door, and our door has a window in it, so all I see is a shadow just drop to the ground, Dad yell, and I hear Mom yell, so I'm thinking Mom fell or something, or Trina yelled, somebody. I'm thinking Mom fell or something, so I'm like, our door has a code. I've never punched in the code so fast in my life, but I was in there in less than 2 seconds, which is a 10-second ordeal. But I was in there and I see Jay on the ground shaking, like having a seizure. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Dad, the first words I hear is call 911, and I cannot call 911 looking at my brother shaking on the floor. So I turned around immediately and went outside. And you know what? Like in that moment, I was speaking to the police, trying to, I guess, get them just to hurry up in every way that they could. And it was through whoever I was talking to on the phone that they said, listen, we can't help you if you don't calm down. And in that moment, it just made me think like, ain't nothing gonna happen. Ain't nothing gonna happen if it's just me, you know, shaking and complaining and not, you know, I gotta figure something out. So I straightened up in that moment, sucked in my guts, like on my chest a little bit, and I said, listen, this is the situation, get over here now. And it wasn't even my call that went through, that was someone else's, and that's a completely different story, but it's just in that moment, that's where I had my switch of, it's time to be a little bit of a man, I'm not a boy anymore. You know, I'm 21 now, so do what you have to do. And from there on out, you know, I got a new job and everything, so now I'm going to work a little depressed that my brother's in the hospital and whatnot, but it's also a new environment for me in that new job that I have. So it's kind of like slowly but surely I've been building myself as a whole new individual, you know, and it's honestly strictly through what happened with Jay, because I was broken down. I was at my lowest point, honestly. I was dealing with that and something else that was going on in my life, but at the same time, I just felt low, and I'm not a low person. I'm usually upbeat, happy all the time. I don't got a problem in the world because I got the best parents in the world, so
Amen.
What are you gonna do? But I found myself there finally, and I honestly feel better off for it. And as long as Jay is okay, like, I've been okay. Like, the more I've seen him and the more news that I got, the less worried I was about you being in any sort of trouble, or even our family being in any sort of trouble. Because once you were gone, the first thing I got back home to do was piece the whole house out. Like,
yes, you did. You felt it.
I knew, like, if they came home to the same energy, the same setup that they saw Jeyson in when it happened, it would only go downhill. So, you know, set some incense up, move some furniture around, clean the little dishes, and, you know, called it a night.
You made our bed and in our bedroom, and I really appreciated it because I felt it immediately. But I didn't know it was you, but I kind of figured it was you, but it really blessed us. We were able to go to bed and in some type of peace.
And it speaks to how, similar to Brendan saying earlier, of how amazing our parents are, because my mom has been drilling, particularly into Brendan's head, from very young, because when he was a little bit younger, his room was a little less tidier, and now since mom been, it's
definitely a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot better, and he had his moments where his room would be in chaos. And one thing my mom has always said is, like, you cannot function in any capacity when wherever you're sitting, laying your head, or even just in your office, wherever your environment is, you cannot function when your environment is in chaos. So this is something that's bringing. So it just speaks to how, you know, some of those lessons that my parents, you know, have really instilled in us and really put in us from young ages, really manifested, you know, years later, and how we can have taken those lessons and give it back to them and service them in those particular moments. Yeah, for sure. So love to hear.
Yeah,
So
from Mama
yeah, you weren't supposed to be in. You know, I keep saying if I had been in the kitchen cleaning up, if you all had not said we got this, I would have been in the kitchen cleaning up. You would have probably been in your bedroom getting ready for the next morning. And it didn't turn out that way. So I am just completely blessed that you had people around you down here. And all I heard was a whole bunch of, I think I heard Katrina.
Were you upstairs?
I was upstairs in the bed in pajamas. It's like 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. And I heard somebody screaming, and I heard Trina screaming. And then I heard a whole bunch of noise, and I was like, what is going on? Hopped out of bed, ran down the steps, and I see Jeyson on the floor, and I see your dad holding you, and holding your head, and I think Trina and Al, I think Cameron was there, your friend was there, all in our little hallway, and somehow I got around you and literally just started praying. I was bent over you, you know, with my hands on your chest, and on your face and on your head, and just watching you shake like that was probably the scariest thing that I've been through in my life. But I was praying, but then I started speaking in tongues because I knew that one, it will calm me down. And then because speaking in tongues is edification, spirit language, right to God, and that God will take care of it. Whatever I was praying, he knew what it was, he would take care of it. It felt like it took forever for the police to come, but I heard it wasn't, they came fairly quickly, which is the blessing. And, you know, then the police came in, they were asking questions, and so I felt like me, besides praying, but really speaking in tongues, grounded me enough, and just, you know, tunnel vision from then on. There's a saying that says, as a mother, you're as good as the mental health or the health of your loneliest child, or your God, what's that? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But a mother, you're as good as the child that's doing the worst. That's your litmus test. So if you have if you have even one child that's not doing good, a mother is not feeling like complete. Right. So at that point you were that child. Right. And so, you know, everybody was trying to help, and I had to run upstairs and put some clothes on, and but it was a blessing. Ended up following you in the ambulance to the hospital. When you were down having a seizure, you know, I kept saying, wow, you know, my son could die. It was the scariest moment. And the look in your eye, I could see your eyes were like going back and forth. Your head was jerking back and forth. And it was just like, what is going on? And then at one point you calmed down, and then it started again. Maybe 30 seconds later, it started again, the second seizure. And then, you know, you have all these thoughts in your head. Grand mal. I don't know what a grand mal seizure is, but I hear people don't make it out of that. Right. So you have all these. You have, I'm praying, I believe God. That's what I was saying to you. We believe God. Jay, you're going to be okay. I was talking to you. And then grand mal comes in, and then you fight against it. And then, you know, he might not make it. And then you fight again. And so that, such is life. Right. That's what you do. And I told your dad just this week that I actually saw someone have a seizure before, and that ran through my head also. I don't know if you all had it in your grade, but when we were in junior high school and young, you used to do that game where you hyperventilate somebody. You put your arms around them and go like that, and and they're breathing heavy and they hyperventilate. I'm glad you're looking at me like you don't know, because it is the worst thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a crazy game.
And then the person falls out, and the look on your face was the look that I saw someone else have, who probably had a seizure from that little game that we used to play that was really dangerous.
Wow.
And so I thought about that. All of that was running through my head. But after the police came and the ambulance came and they were moving you out and I got dressed, it was all about business from that point on.
It's a crazy game. I'm sorry.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
It is a crazy game.
It is a crazy
Oh
game.
my God. I don't know
For sure.
how more people didn't die or something.
It was crazy. I wanna say this one part of the actual thing that happened, which was great because my brother sent me this video. So we have a dog, beautiful white dog named Shelby.
I was just thinking about Shelby.
Yeah, right. And she is getting older. She doesn't really hear the same. She's getting older and brittle. We've had her for 13 years, so she's a small pet, so a small dog. So she's getting up there in age, and it's funny because one of my dad's sister is paralyzed from the waist down, and she lives in a home, obviously to
Cerebral palsy.
She has cerebral palsy, and when she was staying here one day, she was down here, I believe, sleeping with, I think my grandmother was here, or
she was here, and then Coco was in where you right around the corner.
Got you. And she had a seizure, and Shelby was screaming, barking at her loudest, and really signaled to everybody like, wake the F up. Something is going on.
If I'm not mistaken, Shelby did it before the seizure actually started showing.
Right.
Like physically, I guess.
Right. And it's just that speaks to how the spiritual aspect and the spiritual realm, dogs feel that. They know when something is going wrong. It's so crazy.
You know what that kind of plays into now? I'm thinking about it. I was thinking about it when Mom was saying that she was speaking in tongues. And when you cancel out that vocal aspect, it's all feeling. You know what I'm saying? So you speaking in tongues was really just, I don't have the words for this. I'm just going to speak from my heart. You know what I'm saying? And the message got across clearly, loud and clearly. It don't need to be vocalized like that. As long as you're you were tuned in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's just a feeling.
That's
It's just a
absolutely.
feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And because we are who we are, and because we know so many people, we are lucky enough to have so many people send over that same feeling.
Right.
Energy.
Exactly. And
Prayers.
that, not just you, that helped everyone. I'm
Yes.
jacking it, because people were texting me, I was the one who was in the hospital. I was like, I'm good. Jay's the one.
Right.
They'll be like, but.
And that's something that would definitely be addressed for sure. We're gonna come back to that. Just want to finish the Shelby story, and then we can go into that, because that's a really important part of just this whole entire process of how much of love that we and prayers we received, right? But yeah, so Shelby, in that particular point was really just going crazy, signal to the entire house that
She was going back and forth around you.
and going back and forth around me, and to be completely honest, me and Shelby have a very interesting relationship. So the fact of, I found it extremely powerful to get that video. That one particularly, I know my family had my back. I wasn't worried about that. And not saying I didn't expect my pets to have, because we have 2 cats and a dog, and the one pet that I'm extremely close with that has been there for me and at low points for me is our cat Connor. And he senses my energy when I'm down, and he comes in and he not necessarily cuddles with me, but it's more or less of just in my area, because he just knows that I need just somebody to be there. And the fact that Shelby was there when she does it, she's literally one track mind and all about herself, really, because she's very prissy. And so it was just great to see that video, and really made me smile. And I'm like, wow, Shelby really has really been was really there. And ever since I got home, she just bursts inside my room and just looks at me, make sure I'm okay, and then leaves. And it's been so beautiful to see that.
So, nothing that, no.
It's slow motion. I thought he was jumping me, and then he just fell back. That's when I ran over.
Hit the back,
I don't even recall before. I think I caught him, but he fell down on his butt for some things. So I don't think he
just lost his
head,
legs.
yeah.
He lost his legs. All right. Okay, Jason? You feeling better now? All right. We're going to take you to the
Relax, Jay.
hospital. We're just going to check you out and make sure you're okay, all right? We're going to take you to the hospital as soon as you're hanging there. All right? Just lay in this position. Don't try to get up, all right? Try to get you on your feet a bit.
Yeah.
If it is
Has he ever been to the hospital before?
Maybe has your hip been hurting since you had been fall last week?
So you said you went to urgent care for when you feel like
No, stay there.
yeah, just a dentist thing, but
We'll
nothing.
talk. Don't worry about
no,
it. Just relax.
like no health conditions or anything.
No, you asked
No
me.
medication, nothing like that.
Ran track in college and played basketball all year.
So I'm gonna just transition to the hospital process and just me being in the hospital for a week, and I'll just speak for myself as far as just like my experience for just me of how positive I was and how much my faith was unwavered. I was very, 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 very positive throughout the whole process, and obviously going through the many different leaps and bounds that comes with having brain surgery. Many doctors and we're going to address the COVID, how COVID stipulations really changes everything and how your family can support you and things of that nature. So I'll just start with just my process of how I was. Like I said earlier, as soon as I was in the ambulance going to the hospital and understanding what happened, gaining my consciousness, I was really in a space of like, I could have died and I'm here. So as soon as that registered to me, I sat with that, I said, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. I said, God had me stay here. And so as we're going through the process, doing a lot of testing, taking a lot of IVs, blood work almost every day.
Every day.
Every
hour.
Every hour, blood work. IVs in 3 parts of my body. IVs like 4, 5, 6 times a day for hour or 2 hours at a time. Taking my blood sugar every day because some of the medicine I was taking heightens your blood sugar. The steroids I was taking was heightening my blood sugar. Going through the process of going through numerous different tests to scan my brain. And what the doctors found was a dark spot in the outer lobe of my brain. And they wasn't sure if it was bacteria or it was cancer. And they wanted to identify that. So they immediately found that out and was trying to figure out what the process is. Within that process, I had about 9 doctors. And the frustrating part about that whole process with having 9 doctors was they were not all on the same page. We had the surgeon, the brain surgeon, we had the neurologist, we had the neuro-oncologist,
infectious disease
doctor,
primary general, hospitalist.
We had like a team of 9 doctors, and nobody was on the same page. And we'll speak a little bit about that later. But I want to focus on just the process of what was frustrating, and how it kind of tested my faith in a way. But also at the same time of just the positivity that I remained. So when acknowledging and understanding. Finally getting the news that I had to have brain surgery. Obviously getting the overpouring of love from my friends and my friends I call brothers, and one of my friends, Hanak, showing up every day just to get an update on me and the things of that nature, and just showing his love in the best way he could, which was beautiful to hear. And he's literally been over every day. I'm like, I'm tired of seeing him at this point. Just joking him out.
We love you.
We love you, bro, for sure. But yeah, so I tuned in. So one of my spiritual gifts is prophecy, as my mom alluded to earlier. So I have 2 prophetic mentors, one being Lorenzo Darcy Chamber and one being Pamela Ward, both pastors in their own right. My mom I've known Pastor Pam for years. Her, my mom, my dad all were on the ministerial staff at Believers Christian Fellowship together. So she's been in my life for a while, but ever since the last 2 years, we have really built a really solid relationship. And actually, like the past 3 months, it really has solidified. I had an opportunity to interview her for one of my classes that I am doing for my Master's of Divinity, which is basically, as I tell people, Bible school. So it makes it very easier to understand it for me. Yes. Okay. So I don't really try to overcomplicate it. So I'm in theology. I'm in seminary. I go to New York Theological Seminary. So for the people that don't really understand that concept of, pastors have to go to school for a specific degree to be licensed and things of that nature, I just say I go to Bible school. Just make it very easy, right? So I had an opportunity to really speak with her, and our relationship started to really blossom after that. And I realized how much she sold into me and confirmed my spiritual gifts, and understood, and made me understand the process of where I'm at in my particular spiritual journey. And Lorenzo being the same way. Lorenzo is in class with me. I have we formed relationship during the retreat before class even started, and I did not see him the entire process, did not see him the entire retreat. And one day when we had dinner, the last night there, he just slid into a conversation with me and another young lady that the dean of the student affairs told me about, and I finally met her because she's similar to my age. So I'm 25. I'm the youngest person in school, and her name's Nicole. She is 28. So we were like two of the youngest, and Lorenzo's not too far behind us. Lorenzo's in 30s. So we build a great relationship. So to make that long story long-winded story shorter, to really get to the point what I'm trying to make is that Pastor Pam called me and really affirmed that you are God got you, basically, and that you're gonna come out this better, more spiritually inclined, just a better person, have a different vision and have a different lease on life, so to speak. Right? And Lorenzo, I called him literally, I think either the day before the surgery, the day before the surgery, I called him. And I didn't even want to tell him, because I didn't want him to worry too much, and that's just me, that's Jeyson. I don't always, I don't like to put people's, problems on, I don't like put my problems on other people or my burden on other people.
Which is a problem.
Which is a problem, yes, at times, for sure. I think I'm Superman sometimes, and that's something I'm learning to go out of. So, I spoke to him, and one thing that he affirmed with me, so throughout my spiritual journey, since I've started, I'm not saying I started my spiritual, I guess my ministerial type of spiritual journey that I started when I started going to school in September. He's taught me a lot about sowing seeds and building covenant with God, and making me more aligned with fasting and taking communion more often, just once a month, and anointing myself, anointing my head, my temple, my head, my eyes, my ears, my lips, my genitals, and my feet, and realizing these are major pressure points that I spoke to my brother about at one point, and it aligned with a lot of things that my brother is very inclined with when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to chakras and things of that nature. So these things that I have been doing has been allowed me and has placed the obedience that I had for the Lord. And one thing that he really said to me was, the devil was working against you and wanted to take you, but because of what you've done in your obedience to God, God said it wasn't so. Mm-hmm. And once he confirmed that for me, I already felt that way, but him and Pastor Pam gave me that confirmation of all the work that I've been doing, the isolation that I've been in, as I'm learning, more about my prophetic gift, how that comes sometimes, and being in silos sometimes, and changing my lifestyle, not dramatically, but just going out every weekend and being with my friends, to being very selective of when I see my friends, being in certain areas that I'm in. Not every environment is for me to be, and understanding how important my energy is, and just learning about that. So once the already overwhelming feeling that I already had, it confirmed it for me once I heard from them. And it really gave me even more confidence, and similar to my brother said earlier, poke my chest out, I'm going to be fine. And literally, as soon as I got home, and my first thing was to talk with every person in the household just to get how they felt, and I had spent time with them. And I'll address that a little bit later. But that was just how my journey was for me in general. And just going through the process of me being in the hospital basically by myself, because my parents can only come for 2 or 3 hours out of the day, because with COVID and how rampant it is, particularly in New York, you dare have to be extremely cautious. So we'd love to switch over to Mom just to speak about her process, just going through this whole process with me in the hospital, not being able to see me. Normally, and before COVID, you could be in the hospital basically all day. When it comes to anybody, you can be there all day, all night, spend the night. So
I'm used to spending the night with my family.
Right, exactly. So
I
would love for my mom to just take it over in that aspect.
Yeah. So the hospital was out here in Long Island. It was a great experience at the beginning. You had about 7 to 9 doctors, and Phil and I, your dad and I, were like, "Oh, he's being taken such great care of. He has a doctor for this and a doctor for this." Even though I'm against Western medicine that divides your body into pieces and everybody got one arm and one shoulder and whatever, it felt like they were being attentive, and they were. But then what ended up happening is we started to see the division between the doctors. And one doctor would say, "Oh, he's getting out tomorrow," because they were done with their work and releasing him. But then the other doctor who had not finished their part, like infectious diseases, was like, "He can't go home tomorrow. We still need to set him up on antibiotics, so forth and so on." And so also, as your healthcare proxies, we were talking to all these doctors and forgetting, okay, that doctor is the brain doctor, that doctor is the body doctor, that doctor is the infectious disease doctor. And so that really started causing some problems when you came home with the diagnosis, because 2 doctors said, "Oh, it's no cancer, red flags for cancer removed," and then the neuro-oncologist a few days later says, in a nutshell, "They shouldn't have told you that." So we're like, "Oh, okay, so now we're at another place." But very good doctors, and we were happy about that. There were not one that didn't answer our questions. I had my notebook and wrote everything down, so forth and so on. So that was, that was the experience. The other part that you mentioned was COVID. COVID, it was difficult because not only could we both not go, but we only had like a 4-hour window in the evening to see you, and only one of us could go up, and we couldn't even go in. I spend 2 hours, and then your dad come up and spend 2 hours. It was one person a day. We did get special permission on the surgery day, but that still left us in the lobby the whole day, the whole day in the lobby of the hospital. So COVID made it really difficult, and I empathize, and I feel really badly about especially COVID patients who probably can't have any visitors whatsoever, and those that don't come out of the hospital. It's terrifying. As parents, we feel like we have control just by sitting there, just by being there, and just by sitting there, because then we can advocate for you. We can see what's being done, what's not being done, and ask questions on your behalf. Because we all know that, when you're a patient, your head is not in that space where you got all the right questions. You need somebody there. So, we were there for you in that way, but it was hard. The doctors did their best, though. They video chatted with us. We asked if we could make audio if we could record them, and they said yes. we would have done so anyway.
Right.
But we thought we'd get permission. So we were all doing the best that we could. The administration in the lobby, they were behind on some things. We had, on the list, we had to fight our way in the doors every single day when we were on that exception list, because one person didn't have the list, and then they wanted to check upstairs, and the nurses didn't know anything about the list, all that. But overall, everybody did the best they could. So it was a good, okay experience.
Okay experience,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think it was. I just think it was. I think that we had a really good team of doctors. They were very knowledgeable. I think it was just the lack of communication that threw us off. And
They didn't have to be like ID didn't want to know what neuro-oncology was doing, vice versa. I mean, because that's not their specialty, they don't know.
Right.
So it was confusing to us.
Absolutely.
What I really want to hear is not the logistics. I want to know what went on in your head.
Oh, in my head. My head.
Great question.
My head,
Well, let's start from, well, you already told us how you were thinking when it happened. Once you left the emergency room that night, once you came home through the doors, what was your thought process?
I was mostly worried about you. You came to the emergency room with us. And at one point in the emergency room, you were just standing, and I was like, Brendan, you could sit down. And you were like, no, you wouldn't sit down. You, like, your energy had you on your feet, walking around. You couldn't sit. So I was worried about you and everybody at the house. And then when we came home, literally, I have to say, if I didn't smell the incense burning and then get to our bedroom, and it was just the same, I probably would, I haven't slept basically since that happened at night really well. So that night we didn't get much sleep, but it was just having that peace to come home to, that I felt like everything was going to be all right. We continue to pray, and because we saw you and you were like, nothing's wrong. We saw you through the camera that night, and you were good mentally. It was less about being in trouble now and just waiting to see how things unfolded. So I'm the type of person, I think I've cried once since all of that happened. And it was literally just last week, and it was for 2 seconds, because I'm still and it was after the doctor said no cancer, right? And then the next day we're like, ugh. So when I get, if I start crying, I might cry for a week. Yeah. And so I can't do that. So I keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said earlier, of like connecting with everybody in my household, which we're gonna obviously have that transition soon, because my whole thing was like, when anybody that you care about is struggling in any way, shape, or form, you put all your attention to them, and you never take time to address how you felt. And one thing I spoke to with everybody was like, I need you guys to be selfish for a moment and tell me how you feel. And I just need to either we have a conversation, or I just need you to just release, because you guys have been so strong for me, and I appreciate the strength that you guys have shown. But you guys just need to just release, And I did it with everybody in their own ways of knowing just how they either need to be spoken to, or just maybe I just need to just be in their presence.
I think both you and us needed that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you already said, you have that overwhelming thing in the back of your head that you don't want to cause trouble for people. So I'm sure getting out of the hospital, you were thinking about like, yo, I'm putting them through this, and I'm actually feeling 100%. So I want to give back as much as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that was running through your head, and we all appreciate it. For sure.
Absolutely.
You know, like we definitely did need that one little moment of, you good?
Yeah.
You good? I bet, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just so we can keep pushing for sure.
Absolutely. And like and one thing about this household, we all know each other's energy and vibrations.
For sure.
So we all know that, like, me and my dad, I have my dads where, I should say more or less, like, my mom, my brother are very internal. They need to process information more times than none. My dad is a little bit different. Me and my dad are similar, where it's like an 80-20, where it's like 80% of the time we are able to express ourselves very easily when it comes to just like most of the situations we deal with. But then it's those 20s, that 20% at times where it's like we actually need to process. So like I understood that like my dad has already like kind of spoken to it and processed it. And I know with him particularly, we haven't even spoken about it. It was more or less I spent like 5 hours on one of the Sundays of just being his presence. And we just was watching like X-Men and just going through random movies and stuff and just talking about like, did you see this X-Men movie? I was like, I didn't see it either. And we just watching this and like really enjoying each other's presence, because I already know that he's already like addressed it and like he's already like faced it and has already processed it. And it was like more or less like it's almost like an unspoken rule. It's just like we didn't speak about it. It's more or less just like, you good? Yeah, you good? Okay, cool. You know, because we're very similar in that way.
I'm kind of the same way too. Like it's like I say, like the only time like I was actually stressing about it was when they thought you might have a tumor. You know? And once I heard like you're good from that or whatever, like you're gonna come home soon, like because they wouldn't just release somebody who is really having a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, alright, I'm not sweating. Like I knew from the point of where you called back the same night that you would be A-okay, but then like mom said, it was just the lingering effect of what's gonna happen next or if. And you know, you get like once you see your brother smiling in front of your face again, you're kind of just like, alright, I'm not worried about it. Just get those staples out of your head.
For sure.
You want to talk about your hair?
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of hair. Like a lot of hair. To where like if I would like straighten it, like I would probably be like
shoulder length
or even surpass a little bit past my shoulder. And speaking back to my prophetic mentor, he was like, and my mom said this earlier, and you know, when sometimes your parents say something, you don't really address it. You're like, okay, whatever, because you know they've been saying stuff your whole life. You don't always take it, and then when you hear it from somebody else, like word is bond. It's crazy. And so mom was like, she said it in a way, because she knows how, as much as I front like I wasn't attached to my hair, I was. And my mom said it in a way that like wouldn't frustrate me, because one thing with my parents, particularly when it came to employment, you know, us as being African American males, we have a specific stigma and a different set of rules. So like me having long hair, particularly the way it was, and me having the pom-pom, as people call it, or braids. Like braids were cleaner, so braids were fine, but me having the pom-pom or me wearing it out was like unheard of, because it's not neat. And for black men particularly, if you're not neat, you have the odds are stacked against you, right? So my parents
neat as far as the dominant culture.
Right, the dominant culture, right. So like my parents weren't speaking to me ever in a space of like, you know, we don't like the hair. It was more or less of like, we're just looking out for your best interest. That's what parents do. And, you know, I made it work. You know, obviously I was blessed to make it work, I should say. And I was working in spaces where the hair wasn't that big of a deal. People didn't look at it the way they did look at it. And, but one thing my mom said to me earlier was in a way where it wouldn't frustrate me, because we've had this conversation many times, and like it would ruffle feathers. She said, your hair is a distraction. And what she meant for was like it makes you stand out in all the wrong ways. So then when I spoke to my prophetic mentor, Lorenzo, again, he was saying, he's like, your hair was a distraction. And as he's prophesying to me, and like I told you about him saying God said it wasn't so, he made sure that you stayed because he has plans for you, things of that nature. That's one of the things he said. He said, your hair was a distraction. So this was a way of God affirming that in the most light. That's the most like lighthearted effect of it, was like getting rid of it, right? Getting rid of that long hair that attracts all of the wrong energy that you were looking for. So that was very interesting, and obviously me adjusting to it, me laying back and not having the cushion anymore. And the wintertime is going to be very interesting because I don't have that hair that can give me some type of warmth. I don't feel any way about it. I still feel have the same confidence I did before. Obviously, you can see from the pictures I have on Instagram, Facebook, and also right now, like my hairline's still growing in because they literally shaved so they can go into the space of where the bacteria was. And I obviously have like an indent right now, and you can see it on my side of my head, like it's a little indent, and obviously have the creases where the staples were put in. But again, my confidence that has not been hit at all. I feel the same. It's just all about taken time to where my hair to grow out, at least to the point where, similar to my brother's length, for half of what my hair was before. I'm not going to grow it out again. For sure, it's going to be very, either dark Caesar or just slight, slight fro, very slightest fro.
And you gave me the confidence to wear my hair short.
Absolutely, and I have to appreciate my mom for.
Trying to look good.
Yeah, she looks great. She's beautiful, right? But like she went in solidarity with me. As me, you don't know, my mom, has had this hair for a while, and she, obviously just adjusting and gaining the confidence to wear it out. And I think, it's a blessing that not only did she jump out on faith and outside of, her confidence that she was still building to, really be in solidarity with me. I really appreciate that as well. And I'm glad that I gave you that confidence.
Thank you. Thank you. I figured if you could do it, then I could do it.
Amen.
And I knew that you loved your hair, and I loved your hair. I was jealous. I always tell you, you have more hair than I've ever had on your head, and you the conditioning and all the products and all of that.
That's why Dad made fun of us.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah. And I appreciate that for that, Mom. So I want to obviously transition to when I came home.
Well, can I say one more thing
course,
about it might help somebody out there about parent-children relationships of older children, because your dad and I had to be your healthcare proxy, like people that listen for everything, but we also had to let you be a grown person. You're 25 going on 26 this month in a few weeks. And so we were all learning as every day how to be there but not be overbearing. And there was since there was only allowed one person a day for 4 hours, you had a friend who really wanted to come up. And we didn't have to discuss it. It was like, go. Even though your dad had not seen you, because I saw you the first day, and then your friend came the second day, and then I think your surgery might have been on the third day or something like that. But we were like, in my head I was saying, boy, a few years ago I might have been like, what? You want to what? But it was like no big deal, and I felt good about that. I felt like it was growth for us,
Absolutely.
And then another thing is the PTSD.
Right.
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people only think it has to do with the war, but you can have PTSD or abuse, domestic violence. But Katrina and I talked about it. And we both couldn't get the image of you being on the ground, having a seizure. Like, I still remember every single part of that.
Right.
And then another part for me, and I never thought that I was this type of person, but when the neuro-oncologist told us because they were hoping that it was an infectious disease and that the lesion would ooze out, and then we would know that it was just an infection, not cancer or anything else. So we were kind of hoping for the oozing. And when he told us that there was no oozing, and he explained what it looked like. Didn't show us what it looked like, but he explained what it looked like. And so in my head, whatever, I saw it. And I haven't been able to get that image out of my head. And so that's also like a kind of like, it's like PTSD. So I've had to really work hard at every time it comes to my mind, clicking it out, and actually, so you have a little pink carnation right there. That's my go-to. I turn it into a pink carnation, and the feeling, because it really makes, it's like a skeevy feeling anytime I have that image. So PTSD is very, very real in these traumatic instances.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why, as I alluded to earlier, like coming home to discuss and speak with my family members, because this situation is not just about me. Like, this is trauma's real. And especially in the time that we're in COVID and in quarantine, a lot of people are having hard time adjusting mentally. Not being able to decipher what their workspace is to their home, and trying to find different ways to be productive, not work too hard, but also find balance within, just have work-life balance, period. For those that are still working, that still have the opportunity to work, right? And for those that are not working, like having to figure out where their next check's gonna come from, and having to adjust to having their kids home. And like I don't mean to come off really condescending or just come in a bad manner. Like, a lot of people are finding out that they don't really like their family members.
That's true.
And I hate to say that and to spew that negativity, but it's real. Like, having to go to work every day and kids being at school, you don't have to spend time with people for an extended period of time. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to summertime, your kids can go to camp, or they're in sports, or they do something that allows their time still to be occupied. And I feel extremely even more bad, even worse for the kids that are in abusive homes, that are having to go home with people that are going to abuse them. And those 8 hours that they're at school or more, if they have after school programming, they're getting away from that. And on top, and then even on another note, I'm not trying to go too far off the trails, but for the kids that needed school lunch to be fed, for the families that are struggling to make ends meet. So it's a lot, the mental space that we're in already, that we were in, period, and that we were all finding in our own ways to make happen, and really leaning on each other in this household to really connect more, check on each other's mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, us taking time out to really go, do fitness. And I've been trying to push that. I haven't been doing the best job, but pushing, my family members to do something, because sometimes you need to just get outside your head. Sometimes you need to take that energy that you have, pent up energy, and just utilize it somewhere. And I think that was really why I came home, why I was so hell-bent on coming home. Like, we're going to talk about this in due time. And it's funny that we spoke about this, and I love, this is the beauty of God, right? We watched, me and my brother put me on to a show called Midnight Gospel. And for those who haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's an amazing, it's very trippy. And it's do not try to pay attention to the cartoons too much and listen to what they're saying, because it's a podcast in the realm of a show, right? But the conversations that they had spanned amongst so many different topics, and it gave me that thought process of like, it gave me the vision of like, we should have a podcast with my mother and me. And I spoke to my brother, because my brother, as you can already see, is just extremely intelligent. I was like, you should come on too. And we got up in front of the camera, which is amazing. Look how God works, right? But I spoke to my mom, and I spoke to my mom about this a month ago, 2 months ago even. And I said, I'm like, we should do a podcast. So my mom was all in for it, right? And those I guess it's like a month and a half. For that month and a half, we didn't do anything about it. We didn't do anything. We didn't speak about it. We had set up meetings about to talk it through. We didn't do it, right? So then this happens, and I had this, like I said, new lease on life, and came in like, yo, we're gonna make this happen. This is a beautiful thing. The first thing I said is that our first episode, we need to talk about this. And she was extremely hesitant. And I understood why, because clearly she hasn't processed the entire.
Still processing.
Still processing. Right? But then when we put a date on the calendar, and I think we put this day on the calendar, and then when we came back, it was like the week prior. I said to her, I said, so we have throwing out topics. She said the first episode should be about this situation. Mm-hmm. And it's just beautiful how God works, because my mom understood the power, the value of this vulnerable moment, this vulnerable space that we're creating, and understanding how much this can service and bless people going forward. So it's just amazing to have that, just in general. Just in general. And would love to just, Mom already spoke about PTSD. Do you have anything you want to add about that?
No, really. I like. First of all, do you have any PTSD from it?
I can't say that I do.
Well, I mean, like, all right, let's. We can use a different term than PTSD. What really stuck with you?
I think
in general.
I think the biggest thing that stuck with me for a while, and Mom can attest to this, that like I'm gaining back my energy every day. So like little by little, I don't need to take naps anymore. Like I don't have to take a nap throughout the day, or I don't have to sleep all day. And for a while, like I wasn't sleeping anyway, because like my body, I was healthy and I can function, but my body wasn't feeling how it normally was. So like I would walk and like my equilibrium would just falter for like 2 seconds. And like when I was playing drums this past Saturday, I walked past the drum set at the church, and like I hit the corner too tight, and then like I had to like weave my way out of hitting a microphone stand, and like I really like scared the hell out of my mom, So like just little stuff like that, like that's where I guess the only moment of like that really sat with me, of just like really understanding that like I have to give my body time to heal. And it took me a while to like, I just started working out again, and I literally just like, and again, me even working out has been very condensed workout. So like my main workout is I have a punching bag outside. We have a punching bag outside in the backyard that we have hung. We hang it on a tree. So I would do 10 to 15 minutes of just different boxing patterns and that cardio would be beautiful. And after doing that, I would do the jump rope for 10 minutes after that. So get that cardio in, do that, do some band workouts, push-ups, and obviously abs to keep myself in shape. And I realized doing that for like the last month or two has really got me back in shape like this. And I have to feel like I need to do cardio every day, because just to give you guys a gym, 10 minutes of cardio, 10 minutes of jump rope is equivalent to 30 minutes of cardio running. So that is less time. You might not feel as winded or tired afterwards, but it is the same equivalent.
If you go in, you're gonna feel that jump rope.
Right, absolutely. If you really hit it fast, you're gonna feel it in your legs. Yeah, your legs and your arms. So I think the biggest thing for me, so like my condensed workouts have been like 5 minutes on the punching bag, 5 minutes on the jump rope, 3 sets of 5 reps on the bands, and 150 abs when it's normally anywhere from 300 to 500 in a sitting. So having to understand that, so I don't move my body, so I don't really push my body too much. Going out has been an adjustment, which my mom will talk to about later. Like not going out, but like being outside of the house. And my mom can speak to that later. Of just like understanding that like I can't. So if I go out to a restaurant to go out to eat, or just I went to go one of my friends Nandi, where this podcast would be, he on his platform that he's making. He had a launch party, and all of his loved ones came just to show him support and just have a launch party for him. And me having to go there after not really sleeping, after having service very early that we had to record early, me only being there for like 30 to 45 minutes because my energy was just low. So me having to adjust to that, and how like I can be outside and along with the heat, even though I'm a summer baby and I love the summer.
You're learning to pace yourself.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Then do you feel like before all this happened you were overexerting what energy you had? Or maybe it could not just be overexerting, it could just be putting it in the wrong place.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely can attest to probably putting it in the wrong place. Okay. And I think this was one of the many lessons of this this traumatic experience, as we could say, right? Was understanding that I can't be everywhere, I don't need to be everywhere, and that I need to take more time for myself.
Right.
quarantine has actually helped that. It has built that process.
Me too.
It has built that process, and understanding that, you know, God has really, for me personally, God was, you know, was telling me that I appreciate the effort that you were putting into changing your lifestyle in regards to like alcohol consumption and partying and things of that nature. And I think what he was trying to resonate with me was like, I appreciate your effort. I know that you're working hard, and I can see the effort that you have put into slowly but surely tapering it down and down and down. Like I can be completely honest with you. I went from, you know, drinking, you know, more of the hard liquor, but to spending in quarantine, understanding that like I need to start to do it in doses and not as much as I was consuming it before. Then it went to just wine, right? So like understanding that it's gonna have a not as much of an effect on my body, and transitioning that, because you just can't consume that. That doesn't have a long shelf life. You can't do it. So I think God was, for me in that one, was just like, I need you to sit down for a second. I need you to rest. I need you to rest. I need you to sit down when you were doing a lot.
Hyperbolic time change.
Yeah, hyperbolic time change. I need you to rest. I need you just to recuperate and just take time to reflect. And I also need you to understand that, like, I do appreciate your effort. You have been obedient. That's why you're here, right? But I do appreciate the effort that you were putting in. But you need to quicken it. We need to quicken that process, because I have things for you to do.
And what's the hyperbolic what?
Yeah.
My anime fans.
Yes.
You know, you got Goku, you know, Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Basically, he took his son into a training chamber where they spend a whole year in there, but it's only a day on the outside world. So honestly, that's kind of like, I feel like that's a lot of like, we do that just walking around, because I feel like we're just wise individuals in general, so we kind of have an understanding of the earth in a deeper manner than most people can, and I can jack that proudly or whatever. But it's kind of like, you know, whatever somebody says something to us that resonates with us, we'll take that information and apply it to, you know, like 1,000 years worth of information. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
That's deep.
like it's just something we hold within us. I think personally.
Amen.
Yeah. So like you said, hyperbolic time change. So I think that was the process for me. So that was really what it was. It was like rest, reflect.
Yeah, reflect. That's what
mentally prepare. Because I have things. I'm going to give you visions and give you things that I want you to do. So that was what that moment was for me, and that's the reason why, like, already having unwavering faith within God, because He's pulled me out of so many situations. My entire life is a testimony, as my entire family's life is a testimony. So this was no different for me. Like me being jumped in 2011 was way more traumatic than this situation was. And I know it sounds crazy to you guys, because a broken jaw to brain surgery is two different things. One thing I'm going to be fine, the other thing is a huge possibility something can go wrong, right? But it was so, because of the work I put in, the obedience that I put in, I knew God. I knew once I woke up that, like, yeah, the devil was working and I wasn't supposed to be here, but God was like, no, I'm going to save you because I have things for you to do. So like I said, it was resting, self-reflection, and mentally preparing for this podcast, for me teaching 8th grade math next year with no prior teaching experience, and other things that He will reveal to me, he or she, right?
Amen.
Will reveal to me later as I continue this process. So like that was the biggest thing for me once in the hospital, and getting home was the biggest thing I took away from that. So I want to transition to mom. So I had a IV pick that was inserted in my arm, and it was portable. Actually, when I touched it, I still felt it. I felt the little, you know, where it was. So I had to take antibiotics that were in like little like balls. It was very interesting, little balls, and I would have to insert it to the pick and sit there. One was a 30-minute one, the other one was an hour one. And it was 7 a.m., 7 p.m., along with taking anti-seizure medicine, steroids, and stomach medicine to help me process everything. Luckily, obviously it's out now. That kind of pick is out now. The only medicine I'm taking now is anti-seizure medicine, which I could be taking off of very soon because of how I'm adjusting and how my recuperation, my recovery process has been very, very good. So I wanted you to speak to about that process of just having to just administer that. And being a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, a nurse or a doctor, either way.
My husband says that I picked up a new certification. Very, very quickly, had to learn how to change the IV, and I thought it was going to be worse. I thought I would have to like poke you or do something. So it really wasn't that bad, but it was just scary just knowing that
Things in your arm.
I could do harm to you, especially with the blowing the bubble out of the syringe, the air bubble, and I think one time you did it, somebody did it, and they forgot to do it, and I was like, ooh, but it didn't harm you. So it was, it was a process. I think you should tell everybody that they were able to get all of the lesion out, the one that was on top, pressing on your brain. They got all of that out. They were going to biopsy. Didn't turn out to be infectious disease. And so you were able to get off of those antibiotics, IV antibiotics, which is a good thing. What you didn't say is that you had 3 more in your brain. And they're smaller. So just the fact that they could biopsy the bigger one that was pressing down is amazing because they didn't have to go into your brain.
Absolutely. It was the outer part of my brain, so it would not really affect any of my,
cognitive or memory or anything like that.
No, and don't get me wrong, it did take me a while. Like I was, doing, personal work, preparing, learning more, and taking advantage of this quarantine. So I was still like writing words and simple words that I was messing up on. So it took a while to get that back, but not anything severe where I can't do what I was doing before, which is great.
Because they did say that you, they would have to test your ability to speak. So if you slurred, then something happened. And then stroke was another possibility.
I don't like the image of them just poking at his brain. That's what bothered me the whole time. Like, he don't end up okay. He's not gonna have cancer. He's not gonna do nothing. But they're in there.
You're right.
They're doing that.
They went through the skull, and you have a scar that's basically healed up already. It's amazing how quickly that went. Yeah, the hair's growing.
The hair grew back quick too.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, let's take a staples.
Yeah, it's gonna take my right, exactly.
Yeah.
Staples hurt to put in. They just didn't even give me. They gave me a Percocet 5 minutes before they did it, and then it kicked in, and I was dealing with that for a while.
How do medical staples work?
I don't know. All I know is that she turned my head over and just said, and that was it. So
like I'm just trying to because I don't understand necessarily because I know how staples work on an office.
Yeah, it's the same way, except they're bigger and thicker.
So did they go inside your skull?
No, they just clip just
the skin.
The skin, yeah.
Now, the way it was like this, so they couldn't. It's a staple, so it had to curl somehow, and you can't get underneath it.
Yeah.
So
you asking the wrong person. All I know is that it happened. It's out now, and we're here.
Thank God.
We're here.
Thank God.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the process obviously that happened, and now, what Mom alluded to earlier is we don't necessarily have an answer.
That's God.
But that's God, exactly.
That's
right. We don't have an answer. They don't necessarily know. One doctor said that they ruled out cancer. The next doctor said we're not taking anything off the table. But what I find the beauty in it is that this is what my primary care doctor that I just started going to, who's a black woman, Dr. Mikichi. Anybody in the Queens Valley Stream, the Little Island area, go to her. She's awesome.
Awesome.
She was saying that she said it's a good thing that they are doing their double, triple, quadruple check because this is clearly something that they've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't, she said that always is never a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so I think that's the beauty I find. In fact, that nothing has wavered as I continue to progress day by day. I find that it's not the worst thing in the world. I know my parents feel it completely differently. Yeah, they're in the middle with it, but yeah, but I feel like I'm gonna. God has me.
God's got you.
God's got me at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So
Really, all the extra checks are just them trying to cover their own butts.
exactly.
You know, just
God
in case
forbid.
something does happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is perfectly fine with me.
I'd rather you do that.
Keep checking.
Absolutely. And
You're not gonna find nothing.
absolutely. And to wrap this all up, I would love for my mother to give her an amazing story that we will show for you in the video as well about her password that she received, her temporary password that she received.
Crazy. That was on a Sunday morning too. Was it the? I'm losing track of time.
It was the next day after I got home, I believe.
The day after
Yeah.
you got home.
Yeah.
So Sunday morning, I'm logging into a website, and I can't remember my password. Happens all the time to me. So you know how you have to go in, you have to change. Well, you go in, you type in your email, and you say forgot password.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot it. Push that, and then the website said, here is your generated password.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into it, change your password. And you know, all the time when you go in, it's usually an exclamation point, X1,
Right.
5, capital ZBA.
Something ridiculous.
Something that you'll never remember.
Yeah.
The password was Grace to Jeyson. It was Grace, the number 2, and JASON was the password that they generated for me. And I just started laughing and screaming, and you were still sleeping. Went and showed your dad. Everybody that we told us was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, and you know, this website didn't have anything to do with my children. Your names were on there. Now Jeyson spells his name Jeyson, but I always say God didn't want to show off too much. and if they had to spell the Jeyson, I would have been like, oh, they're pulling some other data anyway. Right? JASON, Grace to Jeyson.
Yeah.
And so literally, even after, you know, we know that we're still waiting on the biopsy results and everything, Grace to Jeyson,
Right.
you can't fight that.
Cannot dispute that.
And what I found is, I put it on Facebook and we shared it with people, and people who were questioning their faith in God and the Holy Spirit, or people that didn't know, they were like, that was truly a miracle for them. And that got people going, motivated to do what they're supposed to do, talking to God more, praying, all that. Grace to Jeyson.
Absolutely. And yeah, I did the same thing. I used it on my Twitter and put it on my Instagram because I wanted to, for those people, one thing that my brother can attest to, particularly in this generation, a lot of us, because we have so much resources with, you know, the internet and things of that nature, people don't necessarily, our generation doesn't necessarily always agree with religion, but we have a firm sense of spirituality. So I know for myself, I posted that and I said, if this doesn't inspire you to find your spiritual peace and your spirituality, I was hoping that this experience, this particular event, allows you to, you know, really invest in and inspire you to look at your spirituality and find your spiritual peace. So I found that really just an amazing event, and you couldn't tell me any more, couldn't confirm any more for me that there was a God for sure, or a higher power, however you know, just interpret it. But there is a higher power in God. For me, for us, a God, but for others, a higher power a Buddha, however you translate it, but there is somebody or someone that is overseeing all human activity, so to speak.
Human activity.
Or
Or something, whatever it is.
Right. I just say universe.
Universe, right?
I say universe.
Yeah.
That'll be another podcast.
Another podcast,
that's all,
right?
that's all.
We'll dissect that. But I don't know how long this is. I hope it's not too long. I hope that you guys have been blessed by this. I know a lot of people that are close to me, my family, wanted to hear this story. And I'm glad that we were able to find the space and create the space to be able to tell the story. And I hope that you were blessed by this. This is us tuning out from a tulip in an onion patch. And we hope to see you guys on our next podcast.
And just thank you for all your prayers.
Yes.
I mean, you all held us down.
Yeah, for sure.
All over the world,
Yeah.
people knows Jeyson Jones' name because
Oh yeah.
what I know for sure is that I don't like to keep things like this private.
Amen.
People get a cancer diagnosis or something really bad happening, and they don't want to tell anybody about it.
You have
But-
to shine light on the darkness.
Yes.
Shine light on the dark. There we go.
That's really
Shine light on the darkness, and that's just what happened. And you guys' prayers have just been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you again. So this is us tuning out from from a tulip in a onion patch. Thank you guys again for joining us, and we hope to have you on the rest of the podcast episodes going forward. And again, I hope this blessed you.